Well, after the warm reception and cordial relations that we witnessed a few days ago between the SAMIDRC and the M23, the M23 has released a communique a few hours ago pointing to the direction that the SAMIDRC took part in the attack that happened in Goma a few hours ago. Well, this communique is coming at a time when the two parties had signed an agreement for the SAMIDRC troops who are within the territories controlled by the M23 to withdraw and make preparations for them to leave Eastern DRC. This also comes at a time when SADC released a communique pointing to the direction that the SAMIDRC troops is no longer working in Eastern DRC to assist the FARDC to fight the insurgencies in Eastern DRC. Well, that is the story that I'm going to tell you in this video, as well as I'm going to show you that communique that has been released by the M23 just a few hours ago, claiming that the SAMIDRC were involved in the attack against the M23 in Eastern DRC. Well, this is bona fide. If you haven't subscribed, kindly subscribe and hit that notification button so that when I release something new on the Eastern DRC crisis, you get notified as soon as possible. Well, 2 weeks ago, we witnessed a warming up of foes, two parties that were fighting against each other, two parties that lost their comrades fighting against each other. I'm talking about the South African National Defense Forces that is making up the large part of SAMIDRC, as well as the M23. We saw these two parties, the leaders from these two parties, meeting in Goma, and they had agreements between each other that they will facilitate the withdrawal of the SAMIDRC from Goma. Now, this was unprecedented, and many saw it as a new development that is happening in Eastern DRC in the fight against insurgencies, and the fact that the M23 had taken hold on various territories in Eastern DRC. They had fought the South African National Defense Forces. Of course, we don't know the casualties on the M23 side, but what we know is that 14 of the South African National Defense Forces lost their lives in this battle, and they came at a table and they say that we are withdrawing from Eastern DRC. Now, days after that, today, the M23 released a communique pointing to the direction that the SAMIDRC in Eastern DRC are still assisting the FARDC in fighting the M23, and that they also assisted them in waging the attack against Goma just a few hours ago. In a communique that was released by the spokesperson of the M23, Lawrence Kanyuka, the AFC M23 strongly condemns the series of joint operations conducted by SAMIDRC in coordination with the FARDC, FDLR, and Wazalendo militias in Goma, including the attacks of April 11, 2025, which directly threaten the stability and security of civilians. The recent attempts by Kinshasa's coalition forces to retake control of Goma have been decisively repelled. These attacks violate the existing SADC agreements and delay, therefore, the rehabilitation project of Goma Airport. It compels the M23 to demand immediate withdrawal of SAMIDRC forces and also constrains the M23 to demand the immediate surrender of FARDC troops stationed within MONUSCO facilities to our organization. Despite our restraint in response to these persistent criminal attacks, the AFC M23 finds itself compelled to reconsider its position to prioritize the security of the Congolese population and that of the SAMIDRC elements present in the liberated areas. Now, that is a communique that has been released by Lawrence Kanyuka, the spokesperson of the M23, noting that SAMIDRC has been involved in the fight against the M23 in Eastern DRC, even after the SADC released a statement noting that the SAMIDRC has ceased operations in Eastern DRC and that it will withdraw in phases from Eastern DRC. As well as critical decisions have also been made from that particular communique. For example, it pointed out that the SAMIDRC that are within the territories controlled by the M23 will stay for longer because the Goma Airport rehabilitation has been ceased as per that communique, as it noted that it violates the existing SADC agreements and delay, therefore, the rehabilitation project at Goma Airport. The SAMIDRC was supposed to use that Goma Airport to withdraw from Goma and to go back to South Africa and others to other countries like Tanzania. But now this communique notes that there is a delay in the rehabilitation of Goma Airport, meaning that the withdrawal as planned by the SAMIDRC from Eastern DRC will be delayed unless, of course, they use the Kigali International Airport, because now the Goma International Airport is not used, and they say that it could be mined by the FARDC as they retreated from these parts that have been occupied by the M23. Another major decision that could be noted from that communique is that the M23 now asks the SAMIDRC to withdraw immediately from Eastern DRC. They are saying that the SAMIDRC, being even close to the perimeters that the M23 controls, is seen as a threat to the M23 foothold in Goma. Therefore, they are asking the SAMIDRC that are outside the perimeters that are controlled by the M23 to withdraw immediately. It should be noted that there are some considerable numbers of the SAMIDRC troops, the South African National Defense being part of it, that are close to the territories that are controlled by the M23. And there are others in Lubumbashi. These are the reinforcements that the SAMIDRC had put forward before the decision that was made by the heads of state that they should completely withdraw from Eastern DRC. They are still stationed in these places, and that is the reason as to why the M23 has come out to say that these forces that are even outside the perimeters that are controlled by the M23 should withdraw immediately from Eastern DRC. The M23 also sees the FARDC troops that are within the MONUSCO compound to be a threat to their existence in Goma and the controlled regions that the M23 now holds. And they are now demanding that the FARDC troops that are within the MONUSCO compound to surrender immediately to the M23 organization for them to know what they should do with these forces that were the enemy forces but are now protected by the UN. And finally, the communique also points out that the AFC M23 find itself compelled to reconsider its position to prioritize the security of the Congolese population and that of the SAMIDRC elements present in the liberated areas. It means that the M23 now is reconsidering to go out on a full-scale war against the enemies within its perimeters and outside its perimeters. It now seems as if all the efforts that have been put forward to restore peace and to make sure that there is stability in Eastern DRC are crumbling. And the M23 is saying that there is a possibility of the M23 now returning to full-scale war and taking over more territories in Eastern DRC, as there have been attacks against the M23 by the enemies. Mind you, this is coming at a time when the M23 and the Kinshasa government are said to be continuing with talks in Doha, but we see as if these diplomatic efforts to end the war are just theoretical and they are just on paper, because there is still active war in Eastern DRC that is making one to question the efforts that are being taken by Qatar, by Nairobi, and by Luanda to ensure that there is calm in Eastern DRC. Well, I will keep you informed of the latest of what is happening in Eastern DRC. Keep it bonafide. Well, a huge shout out to @FlavorBled for supporting the work that I'm doing here at Bonafide. It takes a lot of time to research, compile, verify, and edit the work that I'm doing so that I can present to you your daily updates on what is happening in DR Congo, Haiti, or South Sudan. So thank you very much for the support that you have given me. Thank you very much for the subscription and those of you who are watching and the comments that you give on this channel, either criticizing or supporting or giving more information about what I'm saying. Thank you very much for your support thus far, and keep supporting Bonafide. You are the people who are keeping this wheel moving to give you more updates and even maybe perhaps in future to go where these conflicts are so that you can get first-hand information of what is happening in these areas. Thank you very much.